Okay, let's call the meeting to order. We're doing the budget with the town engineer. So, might as well start into it.
Do you want to? How do you guys want to do this? You want to? For my actual department budget, do you want to start there, and then we'll go into building maintenance? Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that.
For equipment, I requested a laser level. The highway department has one that I use on a regular basis, but theirs only has a range of right around 200 feet, so I do multiple setups to use it a lot of times when we're doing road work or drainage work. Like to get one with a range of 500 feet so that I can do less setups, should save me a little bit of time. The one I'd like to get is 569 and 570 bucks.
What's the life of the unit?
The one that Highway Garages has is 12, 13 years old, so it's not like something that doesn't, it'll last. For contractual, I had $4,500 for landfill sampling. That's in DEC mandate. I asked for $500 for continuing education, which is a New York State requirement. I asked for $20,000 for consulting engineering services, and that would be used. I'd like to have an architect look over the bathroom design for phase 2 of the spray park, and we need to do a closure report if we remove the full petroleum bulk storage tank at the highway garage.
So that's not included in this stuff.
That's in that $20,000 would include the report for the tank closure.
Okay, so that would include the tank closure report.
Tank closure report and an architectural review of the bathroom design for the phase 2 of the spray park grant.
Wouldn't the grant cover that?
No, it does not, because I'm a covered design,
doesn't
only
cover it.
only construction.
The grant will only cover what now?
Construction.
Well, what are we doing with the bathroom?
I would like to have a.
Union negotiation.
What's that?
Isn't the continuing education part of the union negotiation? Isn't that in there?
It's something that's always been funded.
Right, but that's part of, we're still doing the union negotiations. Right?
Whatever you guys want to do.
No, I know.
Yeah, if you want to.
I don't think you can debate this one. I think it's just one of the things.
Yeah, we got.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that if it isn't in there, I mean that's something that we would do it. So.
I didn't know, I'm not debating it, I just didn't know whether or not you put it in now and put it in later, so to speak.
It's just not an option.
All right, so can we go back to my question? What's the plan for the bathroom?
I'd like to have architectural review of my design. I don't think it's going to be a huge cost. I don't design bathrooms on a regular basis, so I'd like to have somebody
So this
that does.
is just the design phase, has nothing to do with building the bathroom.
Correct. And quite frankly, the dormitory authority's got to come through with a grant fund, and we all know how fast they have been functioning of late.
Actually, the dormitory authority is the slowest molasses department we've ever worked with.
You hit the nail on the head there, Bob. I
We
mean,
were getting the, what was it, the SDC property from the state for the annex for the zoo. Yes, we're gonna give it to you. 6 years later. It happened. 6
kind
years.
of what. I just want to have some money in the budget, so if it does come through, we don't have to do a transfer, and we can go ahead and put it out to bid.
Absolutely.
On the revenue side, not a lot has changed. My revenue projection is down a little bit, and I think it just reflects the current economic conditions.
Is that on the roll page?
Yeah.
Current economic conditions, I don't see as much new housing continuing into 2021. I mean, it's possible, but I would rather err on the side of caution and reduce our revenue line accordingly, just because I don't see as many new sections of subdivisions coming online. One, we've got a ton of lots online already that aren't built on, and two, I don't know how long this market demand is going to hold the way it is.
So you're projecting 92, which I think is reasonable.
Yeah.
Well, although in 2019 we only brought in 81 and a half, is that just not billing enough or quickly enough, or? Because I don't know what you're projecting for 2020, how we're doing.
We had a bunch of projects that didn't go forward in 2019.
Okay. I mean,
We just had a bunch of projects that, like Melvin Farm has been on the horizon now for, that was included in 2019, never came to fruition.
But that's something, I mean, if, I think I told you, we had a meeting with them the other day.
Yep.
Al and I. And they're getting ready to put together their designs and their letter of intent, so that should be, how long do you think? About 3 months or something like that?
It depends on when they get their wetland determination. It really does. If they get that this fall, I mean, probably 3 months is a realistic timeline. If the
So,
Army Corps and DEC doesn't move on that for them this fall, it could be spring.
but I mean, it's, at least it's moving forward, so
Yeah.
it could be something that we choose to move
And
forward.
let's face it, I mean, a lot of your time too, I mean, 19 was spray park.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. The spray park really monopolized my time in 19. And there's certainly a value to the town in that. But it did, the summer months were monopolized, you know, basically May through July. That was my focus. I did ask for, under personal services, I did ask for $5,000 for an engineering intern. As you know, there's a little bit of money in Jerry's budget as well to cover the cost of the intern doing the data entry and collection for the asset management plan that we've been using. So between those two line items, that'll fund that position entirely. And any work that they do.
Is that a shared person between you two?
Essentially, yes.
so you're asking for 35 out of your budget, 15 coming out of yours? That's what's listed here is 3,500 for the engineer for transportation in the.
No, Al's asking for 5.
I'm asking
Yeah.
for 5,
Why
35,
not?
and then
Yeah.
35 for the highway side of it.
Okay, so, but here you've got 35 on this roll-up sheet on page 7.
7 of 15?
Correct. Well, 7 in the beginning. There's no numbers, so if you just, the 7th page, it's 5020-100 if I'm thinking of the right one.
What page you on?
I'm sorry, what?
What page are you reading from?
Page 7, that I wrote down, page 7. You usually number these, Dave.
Well, maybe the next guy will.
You always number them every year. At the top where it says transportation, that's Jerry's number, 3,500, so what,
Yes, that's Jerry's portion of so
yours is somewhere else.
some of mine.
Page 5.
Oh, I see, page 5, page 4, $5,000. All right, I'm sorry for the confusion, I apologize.
And some of the money that is expended on my side gets brought back in revenue from special districts when he does special districts.
Got it, makes sense to me. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Building improvements was the other piece of this that I'm responsible for. That is the memorandum and a couple quotes that I handed out to you.
Yeah, let's get back to you. Does anybody have any
Okay.
questions on Al's stuff, like with the, I don't have a problem with, I think what is that, a level? Or
Laser level, yeah.
I think that's okay with me. Anybody else have any other questions for that? On this stuff? Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't have one already.
Like I said, I've been using the highway department one, but it's only got a range of 200 feet, so I'm constantly picking up, setting up. It's just, it adds
It's a
time.
no-brainer.
Yeah, that's,
You can get one that goes to 500 feet for $570.
yeah,
I mean,
you should have your-
So where is the building improvement budget? What page is
The
it?
next, you go to the next, where you pass engineering.
Building.
It'll be start on 53.
I know, but there's no page that has these improvements, right?
Does not, no.
Yeah, these
There's
are.
no page yet.
So what we've always done in the past is I give you a list of suggested projects, the board decides what they want to fund and fills that in.
So look at page 57,
Peace out.
Is it numbered?
Yes.
up in the right-hand corner.
Got it. Thank you.
As you can see, the only thing that we have listed at this point is the cold storage building utilities, which Al has on his list that he handed out.
Is that listed in your, how'd you come up with the 60 at the bottom? On that?
Well, that's the total of page 56
Oh,
and
okay.
57.
That's 56 and 6, okay.
So, if you want to do some of these other things that Al has put on this
Right.
list, this is where we would add it.
Right. Yep.
So item number one on my memo is, all to do with the petroleum bulk storage system at the highway garage. Currently, our software system, is no longer supported. The company is defunct and no longer exists, so there are no updates. The software will not run on a Windows 10 machine. As we know, Windows stopped providing upgrades and support for Windows 7. So right now we've got an old Windows 7 machine with just that software running on it that's not connected to the network. Our pump is an analog pump, it's not a digital pump. It's, you know, the service life of a pump is typically 15 years. We're past that 15-year mark. If we're going to we need to do the software and pump at the same time. It's about 15 grand for the software, about 10 grand for the pump.
Will the pump work without the software upgrade?
We have to have the software to be in compliance with the petroleum bulk storage permit for recording purposes.
Are we using this pump or are we using the school district? I thought we had a
That's where I'm going with
Okay,
this.
I was trying to remember a conversation.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with this. So if we go to the school district's fueling system, and then Jerry would have to get fuel, like fleet fueling card, or make an agreement with the county that he could fill up at their Warren Road barn or something like that. There's plenty of options for a backup if we go to the school district. I put $30,000 in on 1A for removal and cleanup of the petroleum bulk storage tank at the highway garage. The requirement, New York State DEC requirement on that by our permit is it has to be decommissioned within 12 months of when we stopped using it. As long as I show the regional petroleum bulk storage guy at the DEC that is funded in the 2022 budget, we can probably push that number into 2022 if we need to. I just have to show them, you know, in November, show them the adopted budget. Hey, we've got it in the funding for 2022. As soon as 2022 comes around, we'll bid the work and get that tank removed.
So we could go,
So that's a year from now.
Correct. I mean, we're pushing the envelope there, and we're gonna ask for permission from the DEC to say that, hey, we stopped using it in January of 2021, and we're putting it out to bid in January of 2022 for removal. I don't see the DEC giving us a hard time. I'm sure they'll be willing to give us an extension. But at the same time, if we can get it done and over with, let's get it done and over with.
this is what we were talking about with Jerry on the highway. You know, I mean, there's no sense in, you know, we're paying, I think it's like $1,700 for the insurance on that, plus, what is it?
About about $900 to $1,000 a year on testing annually.
On the testing, so there's $2,700. You add that to the
And the
25.
permit too, right? 500 for the permit?
Yeah, the permit's every 3 years.
Okay.
So figure 3,000 a year you're spending for that, and then with the 25,000 to throw new software in there. You know, like we were talking, I think the best way is get out of that business right now. We got a brand new storage facility. One of the things that we haven't been able to do is to really have a good handle on, you know, how much fuel we're using for what trucks, for, you know, what purposes. So this will take care of that. And then we can do a intermunicipal agreement with the county, like you said, because they're over off of Pottery Road, which is fairly close. You know, it's just outside of Lysander. For a backup, I think now's the time to do it.
Just get it done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a wash,
Yeah, no,
technically.
Yeah,
Either
I mean,
upgrade the software or
I think
you
we
do
got
the
it.
thing.
Yeah.
Well, and quite honestly, the life expectancy of our tank,
Yeah, it's, who knows?
10 to 12 years.
Right.
You know, typically those tanks come with a 30-year warranty. We're in year 17 of the tank. I'm not keeping that tank in the ground without a warranty on it. The environmental risks are too high.
And that's best case scenario. If something happens to them, then we got a spill, we got to deal with something. I just soon get out of the business of doing gas.
This was such a gift to have the school do what it did.
Oh, right,
Just-
especially where it is.
Yeah. So,
You know.
I mean, you couldn't have asked for anything
Yeah.
nicer.
So we can fund that in 2021. We can fund it in 2022. Your choice.
Let's
Do it now.
do it now.
Well, we don't like Pete and I were talking earlier, we don't know what 22 is gonna look like. So, I mean, I think some of these things we wanna get out of the way. You know, so I think that's something that we find the money to take care of that now, and we take care of it.
You know, I would even, this is maybe unnecessary, but I don't know where we're gonna end up this year. Fund it out of, where, if we have a fund balance walking into 2021 that's higher than we need, fund it this year. I mean, I'll leave that up to you.
Well, by doing it in January, by doing it next year, it gives us a longer time to decommission it.
I see.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
so that's why we don't wanna do it this year.
Okay.
And the money's gonna carry over anyway
That's
into the
true.
highway, so.
That's true.
And we got other needs too. I mean, with that being said, so item number 2 on that list is network upgrade for the office building here. Right now, our current network switch is located in an unsecured cabinet above the mop sink in the utility room. We've had issues in the past with network connections going down. It's kind of a spaghetti mess above the ceiling in this building of network cables. The old system, when we renovated the building, was never taken out. They pulled new cables. We've got junction boxes in places where there shouldn't be junction boxes. It's kind of a mess. This would relocate the network switch into the server closet, which is really where it belongs. That's secured and climate controlled.
So, Al, you know this is my forte.
I do, yep.
So this is more of a want than a need. The switch in there doesn't put off that much heat where it needs to be in a climate controlled environment. The network cables, regardless of where they are, they're gonna fail, if they're gonna fail. You're concerned about it being over a sink that's not out of code where it is. And if we're really that concerned, we can spend $300 and get a cabinet and install a cabinet to tighten it up so that way there's no water on it. But to spend $17,600 to move it from one area to another.
And rewire the whole building. So that's,
But it's Cat 5 cable today. So what are we replacing with, Cat 6? It's still Cat 5 cable. Cat 5E cable. It's not Cat 4 or it's not Cat 3 cable or Cat 5, it's Cat 5E cable. So we're throwing out good cable for nothing. So it's more, it's not necessary. It would be nice if we had a bunch of money laying around, and like I said, it's more of a want than a need. But yeah, no, it's not. It's not necessary in my end.
so we've had network issues in the past. Last fall, we had network issues with our connection to our HVAC rooftop units. Things like that go down, they cost money to fix. And we've been having more and more network issues and cabling issues every year. What we have is we got a spaghetti mess of wires that are patched together and not correct. If you can't fund it, I understand. My recommendation, I personally think that it's something that we should do or look into, or at least put it on a budget as a budget item for 2022. It's something that is I disagree with Jeff in that it's a want. It's something that will help the efficiency of this building.
It will not help at one point. One thing, it will not help at all. If I replace that cable with Cat 6, and regardless of where it is, it's not gonna help anything. You're gonna have network issues. Cables fail. They do. You get a toner, you find out which bad is, you find the bad cable, and then you pull a new cable. So what they do is, even if they're pulling the cable, they're gonna use the existing cable, they're gonna tie a loop onto the new cable, and then they're gonna pull it through. They're not gonna gut the whole, they're not gonna pull out every single tile out here and put it nice. This isn't a lab, this isn't a data center, where everything's gonna be on a riser 3 feet off the ground, and it's gonna be color coded, it's gonna be labeled tight. This isn't that, where it's not Disneyland. This is a public building. You go into any building facility like this, you're gonna see cables all over the place. Go into Home Depot or Wegmans, you can look up, you'll see Cat 5 runs all over the place. You know, it's not necessary.
I'm gonna defer to Jeff on this. I'm really
Yeah.
appreciative that you've got that background, similar to.
So when you say we've had, network difficulties, describe them.
Just-
Like, keep it.
A jack goes down, and we're you know, we're waiting on Q's Tech to send out a tech to pull a new wire, replace a jack, or tone out the problem in the switch. I mean, the switch is relatively new. We don't have any problems with this switch right now. It's just not in the spot that it, from a network standpoint, where it should be.
What's the cost of repairs? You mentioned there's been a lot of repairs that, a lot of calls.
I mean, we spent at least $600 on that one last fall for the HVAC controls by the time we were all said and done, toning it out, pulling a new wire, and rewiring that. And you're talking, you know, a couple times a year we have them on here to repair something. So
I defer to Jeff. Talk about it.
We've had this discussion.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, this is his thing. I mean, that's like going to the doctor and doctor telling you got cancer and you saying, no, I think it's a, you know, hemorrhoids. You know, I mean, you know, I don't know anything about it. He does. You know, I appreciate the work you did on it, but I think in this instance, I'm gonna have to go with Jeff on this one, especially, you know, which we got other needs, so.
the next item is the electric and gas service to the highway cold storage barn. Again, we're waiting on the dormitory authority on this to actually sign the contract and give us the funds so that we can build that building. If we do, our matching portion of that grant is to run the utilities there. So we should budget it so that if they release the money, we can get the project done.
If they release the money, how long would it take to get that up?
That's a pole barn. I mean, you're 4 months from bid to construct and final construction.
And the 100,000 will cover all of that. Our portion of it would be what, the
The
20,000?
utilities portion of it, yeah. My design time and the utilities portion of it.
So they haven't even released that money yet.
If not.
Yeah, we still got the money for the,
This has been
Yeah.
years in the making.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, and it's carried over from budget year to budget year.
Like Bob just said,
Um,
the instance he had for 6 years, I think we're all of that. Probably.
We're 5 now.
right.
Yeah, we're 5 years.
It's not anything we're doing, so that money, they already allocated that money to us, so we're gonna get it eventually.
Mhm.
We just don't know when. I'm inclined to think that we're not gonna get it soon. So I'm inclined to take this out because we got other things that we have to buy and push it into the following year. And then deal with some of these other things that we have to deal with. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
right, I'm
yeah.
done with that.
So we've got an old salt shed at the Elizabeth Street barn. I bring this to you guys' attention every year. All the posts of it are pieced together. It is in danger of falling over onto the property next door. Doesn't make any sense. Sooner or later, we're going to dispose of that facility once the cold storage building, the highway garage is built, and we're going to have to, you know, sell that building. Having that salt storage shed there is just a liability that isn't doing anything for us. And it sends our trucks into the village anytime they want to get topsoil. So if we take that down and put a hoop building over at 60 Road, we're one step closer to being able to decommission that Elizabeth Street building.
I haven't looked, I know it's in bad shape. What building is it? When I went over there, what building is it gonna
As you
topple
go,
over on?
it won't topple over on a building. It'll just topple into the neighbor's property. It's leaning right towards the neighbor's property. It won't hit the neighbor's house.
So it's
but
not gonna damage anything, it's gonna cost us anything. Other than
Well,
we have to pull it out.
Yeah, exactly.
The
Yeah,
highway people could pull it out. Again, I mean, some of these things, I'm not saying that you're wrong and saying we gotta do something with it, because I agree with you, I saw it. But I think this year, we gotta, some of these things that we wanna do, I think we push off.
I agree, but what happens if it falls on somebody? I mean,
It falls on somebody, it's not,
if somebody's in the backyard and it goes over.
I'm just thinking liability.
Well,
because-
it's been like that for a while now. I mean, what
Means
you do
more every
last year
year.
and a year, you know, before.
I agree
Well,
with Bob.
And let me just say this, obviously, this particular thing's been on the list year after year.
Mhm.
I don't know how long you want to kick the can down the road, we keep kicking the can down the road.
Wouldn't we sell the building as it
Yeah, I
is?
was just gonna ask.
Yeah, why would we remove something if we're gonna sell the building? I mean,
And why don't we
I'm
sell
sure
it?
someone's gonna demolish that building anyways. Not that I know what building we're talking about, but I'm just saying. sell
I've
that
seen it,
as-
it's right off of, it's actually on Mechanic Street, it's not on,
Well, it would make sense to
no,
get
it's-
rid of it because it's an eyesore and it's a danger.
well, Elizabeth Street runs down. It might have.
But don't
driveway's
forget,
off
I mean,
of-
the
the
number
driveway's
he's
off of
giving
us.
you here is also building a new,
Yeah, the driveway's
And
off
all,
the
the
it
old
goes all the way
present
to the
location.
dead end, is
Yeah.
that?
in that
Oh, okay, I didn't
$12,000.
realize that, I thought, all right.
I would've- yeah.
So it's kind of a two-part thing.
Yeah. The demo of it is not that the expensive part. The expensive part is putting up the hoop building to put the topsoil soil in.
Yeah, so Dave just made a good point. This is a twofold, for 2-for-1, right?
Yes, you're
Demo.
taking down,
So
you're
what-
taking down a problem and putting up a new facility to store that material.
What's the cost of the problem?
So $4,000 to take down the building,
Okay,
and about
so-
$8,000 to do the the hoop building. And Jerry says his guys can do the construction of the hoop building.
And, you know, not to just be too ornery, but I think I asked this question last year, it's only topsoil we're storing. I mean, commercial places don't have all the topsoil under cover, they sell it they have it in big piles. So why are we building a hoop house? Just pile the topsoil somewhere, get out of this building, either take it down or sell it tomorrow, and save $12,000.
Or take down the building and just leave it where it is. I mean, why do we have to have, I agree with,
So there's
Bob. I mean,
so here's the deal, there's a cost to producing topsoil. If you don't put a cover on top of topsoil, you're losing topsoil every time it rains and runoff. So there's a cost to not covering topsoil. And in addition to that, there's also a period in the spring when the guys are gonna start doing lawn repairs where it's still wet weather, and if you don't have dry topsoil to work with, you're trying to place mud, which we think we've all worked with wet topsoil before. Doesn't work out real well. So having some dry topsoil is not a bad thing. If you don't want to do a hoop building, we can tell Jerry to get a big tarp to put over it or something like that. But
I know that sounds ridiculous, but why not? I mean, I guess I keep thinking of commercial ventures, whether they're private landscape folks or whatever. You know, they deal with the stuff that's there. I mean, and I don't know how much topsoil we're buying and storing at any one point.
we're not buying it, we make it.
This is our own.
Yes, we make it. We rent a screen, so we got a large pile of topsoil donated to the town when they built the ground-up facility, and we screen it ourselves and make it. So it's free of cost, but other than the labor and the time to screen it. But it's a limited resource, it's a commodity, it's a
Yeah, it's got a value.
it's got a value. It's like $35 a yard to get topsoil delivered.
Yep.
So it's got a value. If every time it rains we're losing a half a yard of topsoil, well, that's a loss that you're not really getting back. But hey, whatever the board wants to do, I'm good with it. Just let me know what projects you want to pick.
Yeah, can we, kind of put that aside for now, and then I'll investigate it a little bit more, take a look at it, you know? I'll get on that then, because we got a little time there. But, I mean, what you're saying makes sense, and, again, like you said, Dave, some of these things have been pushed down the road a long time, so we'll, you know, we'll take a look at it and see where we're at.
And we mentioned people buying it. Is the village interested in this property?
I got a call into them, and they were, when Steve D'Arcangelo was there, they were interested in either renting or buying. And then now Steve D'Arcangelo's gone, I called the mayor, and the mayor said he's gonna check with Steve to see what, you know, he had in place. So I called him a couple of weeks ago, and he hasn't gotten back to me yet. I'll follow up with that to see what the deal is, because the fire department is probably gonna move. You were right, they paid the side, they didn't pay the
Yeah, they
front.
paid it from there.
So they're still working on that. We're in October, so they probably, but I would imagine they'll probably be in there by the end of the year. So starting at, because they got to give us 30 days, I think it's 30 days, isn't it? They got to give us, so they got to give us at least 30 days anyway. We're almost into November, so they're going to be there till the end of the year. By then we should know if they're going to rent it. But that was the thing, they were either looking to buy it or rent it.
I'd love to sell it if.
Well, we have that, and we got that lot there also.
Right.
I
We
mean,
can't sell that facility until we got another spot to store Jerry's stuff in the winter time. So it's not something that we can
Right.
just sell in 2021. Until that cold storage building is up and we put heat and insulation in it,
Exactly.
we can't sell that.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they were interested in buying it, fine, we could let them rent it until we came through with the other place to store his other equipment. Then, then we could move forward with that. If that's what we chose to do.
Number 5, paint the town office building fascia. The building fascia is pretty faded and gray right now. I don't think it's been painted since the building was built. I think the stains on the block can be cleaned by the park staff with a good solvent, stiff bristled brush and a pressure washer. But the fascia is showing its age. It's looking a little rough. You know, that's something I think that
Did we get an estimate on that?
I haven't. It's not going to be more. We had the whole Trooper Barracks building, the whole building painted for $4,200, and we're just talking about going around the fascia here. So I don't see it being more than $5,000.
These are some of the things that I went to Al about. I think that, you know, we have assets and we got to start maintaining them, and this, I think that's a prudent thing to do with that. You know, some of these things we can't.
What color, Al?
I just go white. I mean, because the split face block is white.
Well, I don't know about white.
What about red for Baldwinsville, right? Where Baldwinsville
Yeah.
leaves?
Hey, I don't care.
Yeah, let's come up with a,
Show me an engineer that cares about color.
Yeah, well, I think we have a nice asset here, we really do, this building is a nice building, I think let's put some time into it and let's think about what we want to do. I think there's other colors that we could do with this. We got our new hiree in the other room, Mrs. Farragon, that's her business, she does staging and things, she works with colors and stuff. Let's see what she thinks. Maybe get some ideas from the public. See what we would look. But I think that it should be more in line with what they do in the rest of Radisson.
Yeah, because this would have to be approved by the Radisson.
Radisson community.
Yeah, I was just saying.
Yeah, so you're not painting red.
Yeah, right.
No, that's gonna be, no, but I think we could do something a little bit.
It's going to be Radisson brown,
Yeah, Radisson.
baby poop brown,
We're not going with
green, or white.
So I kind of, my house is green. I kind of like that. You know, they got some nice.
Yeah, I
shades
just
in
don't
it.
know how it looks with the split face. Green with the white.
We'll get there, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean-
I agree with you.
I mean, yeah, we could paint it, but you know, let's not decide a color tonight. You know, let's-
Yeah.
If we decide to paint, okay, then we'll.
And just for the record, surprise me.
All right. It won't be pink.
So I was at the highway garage today. I got to have one of the weather stripping on the east end door replaced, and I was looking at that and get a measurement on it. While I was there, I looked at the west end of the building, the overhead door. There's holes rusted through the bottom of it. It's an uninsulated door. She's wet. She is tired.
The weather stripping, is that the bottom piece? Al?
No, this is a side piece of weather stripping
Oh.
that's torn and gone.
What's the bottom piece called?
The sweep,
The sweep?
yes. But
That's for my own personal.
Yeah, I need a new sweep on that.
You went on your garage, do that.
the door
Tell
is
the guy the right thing.
it's toast. I mean, she's probably original to the building. It's
Yeah, again, I
it's in
mean,
rough shape.
It's a no.
you know, one of the things I want to talk to the highway superintendent about, I don't know, you know, when the last time you've been over at the highway garage, but that building needs some work, and it needs some TLC around the building too. I mean, I went over there was weeds all over it. I mean, we can do a little bit better than that. I mean, that's an asset. You know, the highway superintendent is in charge over there, but, you know, we ought to talk to him about doing something with it. But I think that, you know, we need that rooftop garage unit. I mean, that's not going to go away. And a door, you need a door. So you know, some of these things, just like, you know, with that we haven't replaced, we gotta start replacing them and fixing up our assets, kind of like what we're doing with the park. I think we gotta move towards these. Now, well, in talking about that, Dave told me that there's another account, that building account, right? When we were talking about Tony about that, there was a building account.
The reserve that we were
Yes,
talking
I'm
about?
sorry, reserve, yeah, the reserve, yeah. And do you know offhand how much is in that?
It's around $32,000.
Okay, so if you look at these numbers right here, you got, say, 9, 18.5, 23.5, and we got 37. So there's 53.5 that we're looking at doing. I think this is a good time to tap into that reserve, and to you, that's what a reserve is for. You
Well,
know,
let me just say this as a reminder, well, Jeff doesn't know about it, a reminder to these three. If you remember, we started putting this money aside when we were talking about replacing the roof over at the Parks Maintenance Building. So each year we've been putting like $5,000 into this reserve. So it's within your rights, obviously, because we never really established the reserve officially. So, I mean, the town board, all they have to do is decide you want to use that money for these items instead of that roof.
What is the park's roof gonna cost again?
he doesn't know. I talked to him today. Now, what I'll do is, I know a commercial roofer that, you know, he can go in there and give me an estimate on that. That's why I had him look at this roof, and he said this roof's good for, you know, at least 10 years, he said. He's pretty good, he knows what he's doing. So I will have him go over and take a look at that. But we were talking today about that roof, and I asked Tony if it was leaking or anything else like that. And he said, no, they went in and they shored it up. I guess you had somebody, I don't know when it was done, but somebody came in and did something with the structure, with the roof structure itself.
Yeah, so we've got some stress cracking in the trusses on that building. That building is an unheated building in the wintertime, and it's got a relatively low pitched roof on it. It holds some snow. We had some stress cracking in the trusses. I got an estimate 5 years ago now, maybe 6, of $40,000 to put some additional trusses in. Trusses that are in that building are 8 foot on center, so we would go to a 4 foot on center truss and re-steel it, and it was just over $40,000.
Oh, so that was with the trusses in?
Yes.
Okay.
We've put some scabs on the trusses to stiffen them up and make them a little stronger to hold that snow load.
Well, again, that's something that we're gonna have to do. You know, I asked him if it was leaking. I mean, did you look at it structurally?
Well, that's
recently?
why I haven't recently. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Last year I went in there and looked, and I didn't see any of the scabs had cracked. It's, you know, it's a 40-year-old building.
Yep.
that
It's gonna need to be done, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean it's
We should do that at the time we replace the roof. in essence.
Oh yeah, we would do the structural, absolutely. That's the only way time to do it. You gotta take all the steel off, take the purlins off, drop in new trusses, and then re-purling it and steel it. Steel's down a little bit right now, but it's not down enough to, you know, the inflation from 5 years ago to now is eating up any cost savings in the price of steel.
So I think what we should do with that, if you got one, so certainly if they got $40,000, and that doesn't sound like an unreasonable amount to me. You know, I did some of that work before. And what was that, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
So we probably should at least put it out, and if that's something that we think we might want to do next year, put it out to bid next year and look to move into it for the following year. You know, and then give people time to bid on it and get a number from them.
So bid it in the fall of 2021 and put it in the 2022 budget?
Right. And then I would suggest, we got 32,000 in there. Now that's one of the things that, you know, I talked briefly with a couple of the counselors that moving forward, these are things that we certainly don't have money to cover these, and we shouldn't have to do it on a year-to-year basis. What I'd like to do this coming year is to get together with Al and go through the whole town. See what we got, see what we have to replace, because we know we got the roof, we're gonna have to replace that in 10 years. The computers, like you said, that's 7-year lifespan, so in 7 years we're gonna have to replace them.
Rooftop units.
Rooftop
for this
units,
building.
the roof out there. There are certain things that are ongoing costs that we probably
Parking
should.
lot out here.
Parking lot, we should be establishing reserve accounts. So each year that's got a specific line item, and we put real money, not 5,000, but we put the money adequate enough to cover those areas. Then, in the meantime, we look for grants and things. If we have the grants, then we can, we're in better shape. But I think we should establish some of those accounts and, moving forward, because this building will be paid off in 5 years. If we do incremental increases, small incremental increases over the next 5 years, after 5 years the building is paid off, take that money that we're currently paying for the building now, put that towards this other fund, and we're probably going to be good after 5 years, hopefully. I mean, that's what we were talking, and that's what Dave and I were talking about today, doing that as well.
So are we not going to take $30,000 out of this account and just keep?
I would like to do that. I would like to use that money right now for these projects. We're still 21 short, but that's better than being 53. But these are things that $30,000 I think we should do. The $12,000, sounds, that's been something that they've been wanting to do, plus the 85 and the last 4 items along with the 30,000. So the 30,000 and the last 4 items comes up to 53,000, and I think we should take the 32 and bang those out, get those done. Because those doors, how long is a garage door like? They last a long while.
Oh, yeah, those commercial doors are
some of
a
these
15-year
things-
cycle.
Or they chain,
What's that?
are they air or are they chain to open them?
They're powered.
Yeah, but they have a chain, I mean,
Yeah.
emergency, but,
Yeah.
I mean, these are things, you take the HVAC unit, those are good for
20 years.
20 years, okay, 20 years. The overhead door, probably 20 years. The painting on the building.
Yeah, I don't know about 20 years on the overhead door, but I think you can get
Okay.
15 out of it.
You can-
Yeah.
you 15,
I
okay.
mean, they're
but
a rare item.
They're
Yeah,
long
they're
term,
10.
they're
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 like a
gonna go.
25,000 cycle.
the hoop building.
Yep.
How long?
I mean, the canvas on those are warranted you can buy them with a warranty with 10 years for the canvas.
Yeah, okay, 10. These are all, and the bulk storage goes away. I think these are things, if we get to them now, then we can start planning for the future and set up those reserve accounts and move in and do some long-range planning with them. But I think sometimes you gotta bite the bullet, but we got that 32,000. I mean, why do you have it? You have it to use it,
To spend, yeah.
to spend in years that are tough, and I think, personally, I think this is a tough year.
I agree with you 100%, but it's not just when years for tough, it's because these things are so
Yeah.
expensive, you build that reserve
Yeah.
up. And on that note, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Is that 9901-900?
That's the $500,000 or $5,000.
So right now, in the roll-up sheets, we're budgeting $5,000. If we're gonna do these out of the reserve account that this $5,000 goes into, do we wanna bump this number up for 2021? To do what you're saying, because
Yeah, I think what we do, that it's probably gonna be a lot more than that. I think what we should do is sit down and come up with a comprehensive plan and have a real number that we put in there.
So
Not a
just-
random 5,000.
Yeah,
come up
right,
with a
just
number that's gonna
come up with a real number,
calculate it.
yes, that we sit down and we,
So this number could change on page 9.
yeah.
So-
Now, is that 32,000 that's, Dave, that 32,000 that's in there now, that would, this 5,000 that we had budgeted for, that would be an additional 5 then, right?
Yeah, I think that includes the 5.
Oh, that's including, okay.
I
So,
think.
so we're still 21 that we got
But we had 20 in the budget already.
for,
With
For
the
this?
cold storage building
It's over
utilities.
here.
Right.
oh, okay. So that would, so we're 1,000 up. We
Yeah.
use that 32, we're,
Yeah, we're
1,000
pretty
off,
close.
so we got-
Actually, I was gonna say something about item 7. So item 7 is the replace the HVAC unit on the highway garage office.
Yep.
So that unit's 25 years old. Right now it needs a blower motor bearing assembly.
no, I'm talking about replacing.
Let me
All right.
get where I'm, we're probably looking at a $1,500 to $2,000 repair bill to fix that blower unit. The unit's toast. I really think we should find some money in this year's budget to just replace that now.
Oh, this year.
Yeah, just do it, find some money in the 2020 budget and get it done rather than repairing it. We gotta have heat in the office soon. I mean, they've got that little wall unit that they can use, and that's fine, it'll work until we start getting real cold. But we gotta, I mean, I hate throwing good money after bad to fix that unit, knowing that it's 25 years old and it's service. I mean, they're having trouble getting parts for it right now.
So you're saying replace it, oh, sorry, go
Replace
ahead,
it.
Roman.
Replace it in 2020 rather than putting it in the
And
2021
then this
budget.
87.
We've got
comes off.
contingency.
There's no
yeah.
difference. We're still spending the money.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I
What do we
mean,
do, when we get, we're gonna have a carryover this year anyway, so that just lessens the carryover from this year, and it shortens that one up by.
I mean, we've got
we're looking at
contingency in the budget
44 or
still.
5.
I mean, this isn't a budgeted item, so it's not, there's no carryover.
No, but I mean, we have some excess that we saved,
We have
That-
money in contingency.
that's
Yes.
what I mean, yeah.
I mean, I think this is, rather than spending $1,500 to put a bearing assembly in
I
that
agree
blower
with you,
unit,
absolutely.
Yeah,
there's
no,
no sense. I mean, and maybe I gotta get 2 more quotes on this. Hopefully we come in a little less than 80 for it.
Is this a
But-
ductless, is this a ductless system at the highway garage,
No.
or is this a forced air?
It's forced air.
But I'm getting a little confused. We did budget $20,000 last year for the storage unit
Right,
utilities.
and nothing happened, so
So
now we
it's in the
rebudgeted
budget.
it again.
So it's still in.
It's in the 2020 budget. Yes, we can use it for that.
Good call.
Now,
Yeah,
No.
good call.
No, he spent it
But-
on
yeah,
something
don't
else.
get all excited. We've probably used a good share of it because we've had a lot of repairs and maintenance that we obviously get charged to this account. I mean, I could put some numbers together and tell you how much of it's left, but I wouldn't get all excited and think there's
Well,
20
I
grand
guess-
there, because there isn't.
I'm of the opinion that if you guys can figure it out of spending this year's money or next year's money, just do it. And just figure out.
I'll get 2 more quotes.
Yeah, I'm good.
And I'll get 2 more quotes before our meeting on the 5th, and I'll get authorization to go ahead and do it. The lead time on the carrier unit that I'm looking at is only 3 or 4 days. So we can get it done in the beginning of November. I just hate spending money on that unit knowing that it's,
Now, why are we
25 years.
going with a carrier unit?
because it fits we don't have to do any roofing. It's got a adapter that goes to the same curb that we have.
All right.
So that's why if I can avoid having to build
Yeah,
a
that
new
makes
curb
sense.
on the roof.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean.
And quite frankly, the carrier rooftop units here have been
Reliable.
very reliable. They've been a good unit, overall. We have more problems with controls than we have with the unit
So,
itself.
if we take that off, what do we think about these other 3? There's 30,000, 12, 5, and 8,500.
Well, you were
I
gonna
think
check.
we can make it work. We
Yeah.
can make it work.
Well, and using the 3,200?
You're right, right.
Yeah, using 3,200. Okay.
You mean thousand?
32,000.
Or 30,
Correct.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
okay with it, but I just have a quick question for Al, because I know we just talked about next fall for going out to bid for the park roof, so we're keeping that in mind.
Yeah, for the following year.
Right, so when I'm looking at what we budgeted in 19 and this year for 20, is there anything else that's huge? Any other expensive things that you can see for building improvements for next year besides this one roof? Because that's going to be, a couple years ago you said 40 or 50,000. So if we take what we were budgeting for the roof and we use it this year, we're going to be looking at least 50 for one project. So is there anything else that you, I know I'm putting you on the spot, Al, but.
There's a place for money in it every year, Roman.
Well, I know
There's
that
needs.
I know that, but is there anything else that's falling down that
That's what we're talking about, doing a comprehensive. I can tell you, just by walking, I went through every building here. And Al and I have been talking, there's a number of things that we can do. And that, there's so many that we shouldn't be doing it on a year-to-year basis. We should be setting up those reserve accounts so that these things are covered. Now, can we do it in 1 year? No. It's gonna take, I think it's, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, when we were talking there, I think if we do a comprehensive plan for 5 years and then incorporate the money we're already spending on a year-to-year basis, when we get to the end, we should be in pretty good shape
Oh,
after
yeah,
5.
definitely.
Yeah, so we're looking at a 5-year plan. We're gonna have to, there's gonna be a little bit of an increase, but we have to do it. Now, what we'll do after the end of that 5 years, it'll level out. And then all of these projects won't come up, we won't have to start worrying about these projects. Well, how do we where do we get the money for this, where do we get the money for that, it'll already be there, because it's gonna be, the big projects will be already budgeted for yearly, and they'll be ongoing from year to year to year, because we're always gonna have this building, we're always gonna have the parking lot, we're always gonna have,
We're on the same page. I totally agree with you.
but that's what we have to do. I mean, Al's probably got an idea in his head, and we've been talking about it, but there's a number of things, right?
There's a bunch of projects.
There's a bunch of projects.
And that's why I'm a little bit, was just asking the question and is a little concerned, is because we have been budgeting for the roof. Like you said, we can change and put the money wherever we need to, but that 5,000 was going for the roof, or was.
I mean, if you look at the building improvements budget for 2020, what was the dollar number on that? Bob, does anybody have it open?
Yeah, like 59?
I mean, we're,
Yeah, but no, that's not even buildings improvements. That's everything on these pages.
Yeah.
The only thing we budgeted for building improvements was the cold storage.
okay.
That was it.
And the computer upgrade was under what line item?
Was on a different line item.
But that has come off, and that was a significant expense. So from a budgetary standpoint, funding these projects isn't necessarily an increase in spending. We're just taking money from one line item and put it into another line item. The reason the building improvements budget was so small last year was because we had to spend money on technology. So the funding the projects that you've picked that we've talked about here tonight is not going to result in it's actually a decrease in the overall budget still. This expenditure.
Because of the 20,000.
Because of the 20,000 for the cold storage,
Right,
plus
you
the
have the $20,000
$38,000 for the computers, so we're at 58,000 bucks.
Yeah.
And now we're looking at 42, 47, 50,
About-
yeah,
It was
55,
53, but we're
55.5,
taking-
yeah.
Yeah, we're taking out the 87.4, because we're gonna do it this year.
Yeah,
So we're around 45,000, so we're okay, but using that money. But that, in saying that, $5,000 a year for a roof like that, we
That's not-
need much, much more than that.
Right.
You know, we're talking, I don't know how much we're talking, but those are things that, you know, it's just like paying your mortgage. You know, you have to set it aside. You don't spend that money. That's money that you can't spend. And we know we're gonna need this, and we should take care of our assets.
Right.
You know, because if you have to do it, you know, you're better off, if we have these things and we know we're a year away, just like with the roof, if we know we're a year away, it gives us time to go out and start negotiating, go out and seeing where, you know, what, the best time to buy something. So maybe you buy something a year earlier because you can get a good deal on it. You know, you're 10 years out, well, maybe at year 9 you start looking because you can get a much better deal. That's what we did with the roadside mower.
Right.
You know, we bought that this year as opposed to waiting for this coming year, because we actually saved in reality about $34,000. That roadside mower today is about $150,000. We paid $116,000. So that's the type of position we want to be in, to where we can go out and start looking. You know, I just think it's a good way to do
For
things.
the benefit of looking at the big picture, we used to spend a lot more in this code. In 2017, we budgeted $121,000 in this code. In 2018, we budgeted $141. So it's only the last couple of years that we've cut back. I think we shouldn't have. So I think to your point,
Yeah.
you know, whether you put it in a reserve account or you're actually appropriated, we're at half of what we used to spend here.
Yeah, well, you know, and that's, you know, I don't think this is too hard, you know, when you come up and you got all these things that come up. That's where the fund balance, you know, the reserve balance we have, you know, for things that just come up. Okay, you use some money out of that, but, you know, if we put the money in the specific reserve accounts, then we don't have to worry about it. The money's gonna be there. After 5 years, we'll be in good shape.
so the only thing that I didn't put on here that we've had requests for from multiple departments in the building is bulletproof glass for the windows in the
Yeah, we don't, you know, this is where I could come in. You know, right now, bulletproof glass, first of all, you're not gonna get bulletproof glass. Bulletproof glass in here, they're talking about bullet resistant glass, big difference. So we can do a comprehensive survey of the building, and I can do that. But that, what they're talking about is not something that is going to protect them in the way that they think it's gonna protect them. We need to do the training, which I got that on, you know, it's on my radar. I was gonna do it sooner, but we were doing other things. But when we get all through, there's other things that we can do. Later on, what we would do is.
I get it, Bob. I'm just wanting it to be on everybody's radar that it's been talked about, it's been requested. I'm on the same page as you in that it's a want, not a need. We're gonna have to take the long, hard look at how we wanna address that. But it's an upcoming, we gotta make a decision.
Yeah,
At some point in time.
and what I'm saying is when people understand what that really does, I think that the layperson thinks it does a lot more than it actually does. So I'm not saying that, you know, their concerns should be addressed, but I think we can address it in other ways.
Okay. So the only other thing that we need to talk about that's my responsibility, and Jeff has been kind of taking the lead on this.
We've been working together.
Forget it.
Is the phone system.
Is the phone system.
Forget it.
You want me to, or?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is your
so
baby.
obviously we have an old antiquated phone system. We have an analog phone system, which, as Al mentioned before at previous board sessions, that the voicemail card went out, right? And we can't find a replacement if it happens again, so we would have to get a new phone system. So me and Al, you know, we reach out to different vendors. I reach out to different vendors too to do a voice over IP system for the town. Looked at a couple different scenarios, got multiple bids from 5 or 6 different people, where one would be a premise-based system or a hosted solution out in the cloud. There's a lot of benefits to a hosted solution. Everyone's going to that. Also looked at buying the phones, or they call them leasing the phones for the term of the contract. There's a lot, I know the town likes to buy stuff, but there's a lot more benefits by leasing these phones too. Is if it breaks, you send it out, you get a new one for free. It's automatically, all the software upgrades that they do, they push them out to that phone, regardless if it's bought or leased too. But as you know, with your own personal phones, technology changes, right? Some of these phones, they may be good this year, but next year they may phased out with a new one, right? So you could always upgrade to different phones. So based on and along with this, there's different features and functionalities with these phones that these people would need: voicemail, email, so on and so forth. So we got some quotes out there. You know, we got to tighten it up a little bit more. Me and Al have to sit down and meet, talk about different seat types. The phones themselves are the hard phones, and then there's also a price component to, they call it a seat type, right? Features, functionalities. This person gets Zoom, video conferencing, chat. So we got them anywhere from $750 a month all the way to $454 a month, right? So that's where we're at now. One requires a 13-month term. The other one does a 36-month term as well too. Obviously we don't have to pay the state taxes, but we still have to pay another fee too, the E911 charge. But it's roughly that, around that ballpark. Did I miss anything else?
No, but that doesn't go in the building improvements line item, that goes in the building utilities line item.
Yeah.
Right now, I believe we pay Spectrum $460 a month for our current phone system, which I think we should anticipate that cost going up next year because of the leased equipment that Jeff's talking about.
Right.
So I think we should probably estimate on the high side and budget that 750 number, depending on what system we go for.
Absolutely. That's what I said. Yeah.
We should budget. We should change that number in the building utilities budget from whatever it is a month, Dave, to $750 a month.
And that's
So
just for
is
the,
that all
that's just for the phone side?
That's just for the phone side, not the data side. The data side is good.
Doesn't cover the internet. That's just the phones, right? You still need internet to run the phones off of. But yes, it's all inclusive.
All right, so
Covers
what we're
everything.
talking about is $9,000 versus what I think we're paying $6,000 now. probably a little under 6.
And this would also help, you know, with the whole COVID situation,
Yeah.
people working from home,
It's
they,
one of those things,
yeah.
there's no debate here, just
Yeah.
gotta do it.
Yeah, I mean, our system is,
So it's a bump up of $3,000.
yes.
It's about 3,000 more dollars. So just make sure you plug
To
that
have
in.
a phone system that works.
Right.
Well,
In any
that we
situation.
can get parts for. I mean,
Right,
they-
that's
they-
right.
they-
Well, when I say that works, that's what I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna work.
yeah,
Cannibalizing these right now, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, duct tape, right?
yeah, we're.
Well, they
we're-
can do, there's a number of features in it.
Oh,
You can
yeah, I
do-
mean, I can go on about the functionality.
But I mean,
Oh,
just,
yeah.
you can do like Zoom or,
Yeah,
you know,
Zoom.
so there's a lot of things we can do.
But you're only talking about another $3,000.
Which is cheap considering what we're talking about doing with that $3,000.
And like you said, the nice thing about leasing them, you know, when things go outdated, you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, the next one.
Right.
I have a little fear about a 3-year term, just because if it doesn't work out, we're locked in for 3 years.
We put outs in there, Al.
Okay.
That's why. we use-
Okay, yeah, because
I
I'm
know the language.
I'm a little
Yeah,
little.
let's get with our attorney.
Yeah, I'm a little,
Put that in there. I don't like to sign a 3-year deal.
Yeah, I'm a little
Yeah.
nervous about,
I don't like to sign a.
especially with technology, a 3-year.
Yeah, well, the technology, they refresh the upgrade.
Yeah,
so There's
yeah.
always outs too. So,
Okay. That's my only.
I
Well,
get
my
it.
only-
Same here.
Yeah, only fear on it. But yeah, I mean, we got to do something. This is Jeff's area of expertise, so I'm kind of I'll help in any way I can in gathering quotes and analyzing the data. But really, this is Jeff's.
Does Dave have the numbers for that?
I gave him the way I.
Yeah, I'll forward them on.
Okay.
Geez, I feel good contributing, you know?
So, am I off the hot seat?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah,
that's
thank you.
comprehensive.
Yeah, let me know if anything changes. I
Yeah,
guess.
so the 87740, no, we're gonna move ahead with that, so might as well get,
Yeah, I'll get 2 more quotes, and we just I can't
we're
see.
gonna do it, whether we do it, why wait till
Why
January?
put money? Yeah, why put money into that unit to fix it?
Makes sense.
If it needs to be done, let's
Yeah.
just put a unit in.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, right now they're struggling to get the parts for the unit that we got. So
I mean, we'll see what we can do with the price, maybe we can.
yeah, well, hopefully we can get a little better price out of it. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
See ya. Drive
Bye,
safe.
Al.
You set it up, you set up the schedule, who's next?
Yeah. Oh, I thought I sent an email out, but you can go, Teresa.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be quick, Dina.
That's okay.
All right. Go up to me. Good evening. Where do you want to start?
Wherever you want,
Okay.
we already went through this,
Oh, all your houses work.
so I'm good.
We're talking budget here. Talking budget here.
Thank you. Just
Um,
What?
Yes.
No.
No, I think it fell down on the floor when you
Oh,
moved
Dave
the book
just
around.
picked it up.
Oh,
Dave picked it up before he stepped on it. So our personnel services line in the budget, there are no changes to that. That's at the board's convenience. My salary is negotiated between the 2 towns, and the other
Well,
salaries.
well, we're talking about that. They made it, did you get that letter? We sent it out, they made a mistake in the original.
Yeah,
Okay, so,
yeah. And I turned in my budget over there, and I was on the wrong page because I didn't realize they made a mistake. So, anyways. So these are the same, the personnel services, the salaries are the same, at your convenience, to do with as you wish. The equipment line, we budget $500 every year, and that is basically reserve, for repair or replacement, if, something in the office has to be replaced or repaired. Typically, we don't spend it unless we need it, and if we don't spend it, it just rolls over to the next year's fund balance. The contractual line is up $116 from last year. And the contractual line basically covers all of our other expenses in the office. And one line was increased, and that is for the county charge for printing our rolls and our tax bills. And we have 63 more parcels this year, so they charge us $1 per parcel, so that's 63 more dollars to the county for printing those bills.
So can I interrupt you just for a second?
Sure.
I love listening to your voice, but your budget is unchanged from last year for all intents and purposes. So,
Good watch.
Yeah.
You don't have to defend anything. So, I mean, if you want to go home, it's that I would vote to send you home.
Okay. Everything else is the same with the exception
Thank
is
you,
the
Bob.
postage. The postage was increased and the mileage was
I
reduced.
believe you.
Yeah,
Any questions?
No.
I don't have it. We went over it a couple of times, and really, you're right, it's very
Yeah.
little change. I mean, the salary increase that was negotiated with the two towns, and our portion of it, I think, is like 1.7%, so.
Okay, no questions? I'll tell Dina she's next.
Thank
All right, have a good night.
You too.
Oh, thank you, Teresa.
Yeah, it's not really changed. You're up.
Thank you.
She said she didn't want to talk to us since you left.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, you guys. Some handouts. Some updates, the ones I emailed you guys today.
I got
Yeah,
Well,
here's
yeah.
them.
these haven't changed, right? I put notes on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you pick them up?
No, I did not.
Oh, these pages.
You don't have to keep that on me the whole time.
Get it close up.
Oh, wait a minute. This is mine.
Yeah, I got that.
You got the new, okay.
Is this for me, Dean?
Yep.
Can't wait for the elections.
Mine?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too, Bob.
Get it crushed.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I sent you all some updates today. So, does anybody have any questions? I changed my expense summary, and that's what I sent you today, along with a new packet for the personnel information. And I had to add $300 to the BAS software because I have another deputy who needs it on her computer, so I increased it by 300 there, which you can see on the expenses summary.
I mean, it's basically a status quo, except for the fact that you're changing one title to two titles, right? I mean, nothing else has really changed.
Well, actually, she, you want to tell them where the money was saved?
Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah,
What's
yeah.
your- what's your explain?
Yeah, sure.
$30,000 less, so.
Yeah, so,
Substantially more than that when she goes through.
yeah, so, I'll show you the second page, the salaries and the salary adjustment, and then the reorganization savings. So, there's an additional savings for the two new salaries, which is 2,000.
787.
I just got this prescription on these glasses, so I'm trying to get used to them.
Bifocal.
There's like 4 different prescriptions in one glass. So the full-time position had $22,000 in insurance benefits and $6,388 in full-time retirement contribution. So that's gone. So that's annual savings there. And then the salary itself, the difference is $2,787 on our end that we're saving. And as you can see, I put in for a 2% adjustment, basically to keep up with inflation and the rising cost of the insurance contributions, because the insurance contributions were going up, so really my paychecks were going down. So I put in, the cost of living is 1.5, but I put in 2% because, I just figured the adjustment would be fair. What other questions do you have? I also listed out the Onondaga County Town Clerk salaries, as you can see. There's 4 tax receivers out of those. So basically, the median income is $59,000 for a town
Are
clerk.
some of these elected versus appointed?
Most of them are elected.
Are
The
elected.
town of Salina is appointed.
So it's not exactly your department, but you administer it, so I asked a question
Yeah.
about the Chase Cemetery
Yeah.
Sexton, so, I mean, whatever it is, you gotta pay it, but I
Yeah.
was just curious that it's pretty
Yeah.
much doubled in the course of about 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah. Well, some of the maintenance has been a little bit more with some of the cornerstones that needed to be repaired in the cemetery, and he does a lot of the maintenance on certain plots. He meets decedents' families out there. He meets the funeral directors out there, so it's travel time as well. There were some issues with weather where he had to take a wet dry vac and vacuum the water out of the grave site. So there's really a lot of manual labor involved, and I personally feel like we are just so lucky to have him because it's a really hard job, and I feel that I think he's underpaid, to be quite honest. I probably should have put in for a raise for him. But I was trying to keep my costs low this year, so we'll see about next year. But I mean, I would, whatever we can do to keep him, because he did come to me a couple days ago and say, oh, I'm kind of ready to pack it in, and I'm like, oh no, please, please, please don't leave.
Well, it's interesting, I just looked at 2018, we spent 16 with that year, so it's fluctuated all over the place.
Yeah, and I think
16
it's-
to 6 to 3 to
Yeah.
9, so maybe maybe this is a bargain, so, yeah, I don't want this to be construed as
Yeah.
anything.
Oh no.
You
You
what's
just
going
want
on.
it to be explained, yeah. So I did go online as well, and I looked at the salary for that, and it is $14 to $20 an hour, $13 to $20 an hour for a sexton.
What are we paying, 14?
14.60 some. What is it, Dan?
Well, it says
Yeah.
1537.
Oh yeah, yeah.
1537.
So I think he's fantastic, and he's really easy to work with, and he's easy to reach, and But I think I've saved a heck of a lot of money. And I went through my supplies and I just like slashed all the stuff that I'll probably never need again, and I won't, stuff that I don't, I really edited this year, I took a good hard look at it, edited it, and I think that I saved a lot of money, so.
Well, the numbers I come up with, with what your reorganization area, I came up with 21,766. 21,766 dollars. That's substantial. That's pretty substantial savings, especially her office. And you saved some money this year too. When I went in and I sat down with all the department heads, and you saved money out of that as well this year. So I working with Dina was pretty easy. And anytime I asked her to do something, she did it. Obviously, she's an elected official, she doesn't have to do it, but I think that, from my perspective, I think she did a great job this year at, trying to save some money. And,
Well, thank you. I just feel that, the public pays our salary, and we really need to do what we can do to help them out too, and we're in public service, and we're here, so whatever we can do, right?
yeah. Great. Good.
Yeah?
Roman?
No
Anything?
questions yet?
Okay. So, I worked really hard on this.
I know.
So did Teresa.
You can tell.
It's not that we're not interested, but it's when it's easy, it's like. all right,
Yeah, I
I'm
know,
not
I
gonna
tried
debate
to
this.
lay it out, like I
I'm
just
not
tried
gonna
to,
debate it.
yeah, just tried to lay it all out, But, well, thank you, gentlemen.
Dina, no, thank you.
My pleasure. And then that's it for the night, right? You guys are done. We're
No,
done.
no, we got other questions.
Oh, I thought you meant with yours, yeah, with people. All right. Thank you.
Good night, Dean.
Good night.
Would you mind going over some of my questions?
Oh, no, not at all, I'm sorry, yeah.
About 10
we're here.
minutes. About 10 minutes.
Oh, take your time, I didn't know.
They were pretty fast.
I missed my poker game tonight anyway,
So you saved money.
so. That saved money. Thank you, Bob, you saved
Did I
money.
say? Okay. All right, so they were just, no criticism, they're just literally questions. So on the roll-up on page 1, I guess most of these can be answered by Dave. So the interest payment revenue, AO 1090, it's down $5,000 from what we budgeted last year. So just curious why we're looking at an interest payment lower.
It's interest and penalties, which is the interest and penalty that's accrued on people paying their tax payments late.
Yep.
It's nothing to do with what we earn in the bank. So what I do is I look from year to year. So the first payment we received in this year is $3,000 less than the first payment from last year. So if the second payment is $3,000 less, which we won't know until next month probably, that's going to put us around $23,000. So that's why I trended it down. And again, it's a crapshoot number. I don't know how many people are going to pay their taxes late. You know.
And it's smart to be a little bit conservative there. I
Yeah.
absolutely, okay. And then interest and earnings, maybe the same kind of question, because that's all over the place. I mean, we made $5,000 we budgeted last year. We made 75 in 2019, but we're budgeting 20.
Yeah. So we're at $28,000 so far this year.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not going to hit 74,000 again like we did the year before.
But that's 19 more than we budgeted, so
Yes,
that's good.
that's good. So again, I tried to remain conservative,
Okay.
and that number may not be so conservative because of the fact that interest rates really now are less than they were. But again,
That was because, like you
trending down.
explained, we moved money around. too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You may remember that when I say we, the town was always a member of New York Class, which is a co-op investment between other towns, school districts, and for years their interest rates were terrible. You could get more money at the bank. But that turned around. That's how we got $74,000 by investing most of our idle funds in New York Class. To help with that, I had the tax receiver open up an account with New York Class. She used to leave the money over here across the street and earn basically nothing. So she obviously is collecting all the tax revenues for, town and county tax, school tax time. That money gets invested in Class. Sure, it's short term, but
It's big
It
money.
adds up.
It's
it
big
adds
money.
up. So that's the reason why.
$5,000 or $6,000, I believe, right?
Oh yeah, it's sizable.
Yeah.
And I think the explanation to my next question is we're not getting any more Northwest Fire District payments in 2021. That's why that code went
Yeah,
down, right?
they're apparently
rental of
moving.
real property, 2410. So it went from 44 to 26. That's that, right? And I forgot. I knew there was another question for Dina, unless you know it. But the dog license,
Oh,
what's going on there?
it just got omitted.
Oh, so we're to the good of another 12,000.
We're to the good, yeah. So
Of another what?
12.
it should be, if you want to write this on your roll-up page, because it is in the revenues, it just didn't get into the budget document itself.
Okay.
All right, so put down on page 1 of 15 in the roll-up, if you put down for account 2544, the number should be 13,960. And then the line just below that where it says other permits,
Yep.
2590, that should be 1,500. So you'll notice that total for that group of accounts for licenses and permits totals $16,000, which is the same number that Dina has on her sheet she just showed you. So that now ties up. But As I said, it was in the detail pages, but not in the roll-up. So yeah, we just added revenue to the budget.
Okay, so that doesn't show up at all on the cover page? or
No,
anything?
because it was not
So it
there.
is a true,
Yep.
nice.
So just moving right down, you know, I understand what we did, you know, in terms of having to just follow the law, but it's such a shame that we lost all of those gifts and donations revenues, you know, averaging about $5,000 to zero. So and I'm not belaboring it. I understand.
But
No, I wouldn't say we lost it, we're just gonna reallocate them properly, right? Like,
Can we?
yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna get friends and family, we're
Yeah.
gonna do some,
Oh.
yeah.
We've been.
So I would
we've been
like to get
talking
more
about
than
that.
5,000, trust me, I'd like to get
A lot more.
25, 30, 50,000,
right.
absolutely.
So will there be a line item that shows up then at some point?
Once.
Once they cut us
well,
a
we're-
check.
In fact,
Right.
we were just talking about it
Yeah.
today. I mean, we got some ideas on how to generate some revenues using friends of like Beaver Lake or
Yes.
Friends of
whatever we want to
Lysander.
call it, Friends of Lysander, Friends of Lysander Park, whatever. And then once we get that established, because there are some people, I think Cindy Clark said she would
Yeah.
spearhead that, and then we'll work with them and
So would we
help
keep
them out.
that money at a not-for-profit?
That wouldn't be
We
ours,
couldn't-
yeah.
can't touch
It'd be
it.
like the Friends of Beaver Lake.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fine.
Yeah,
As long as we get-
absolutely.
And then,
We all
trust
know
me, yeah.
that the money, all right,
Yeah.
excellent,
Yeah.
excellent, all right, cool. I forgot what AIM money is on page 2, AIM-related payments?
Yeah, that used to be what we called AIM or per capita.
Okay.
And you may recall last December, I sent you guys all an email, and it was kind of after we had already prepared the budget that they changed how it was going to be funded and how you reported it. So it used to be the money came from the state,
Right.
all right? Then they changed it last year, so the money actually comes from the sales tax money generated from the county. They have to carve out that piece to give to the towns, all right? So in so doing that, the controller's office changed how we do the accounting of it. So we used to split it between general fund and highway fund. We didn't split it evenly. I don't even remember now how I came up with the proportion, but anyhow, we used to split it between two funds. Now it all has to go in either the A fund or the B fund. So I put it in the A fund so everybody, all taxpayers benefit from it. So that's the reason why.
So that's why it's in the A fund?
Yeah, and it's now under a new account number
Gotcha.
too.
And is the reverse true for the per capita, or is, I mean,
That's
there's no-
it.
That is the,
That
that's
we
the
used to
switch.
call it per capita.
Gotcha. All right. 30, 40. Real property tax administration, we haven't budgeted any money in 2020, but we used to bring in
Yeah,
$5,600.
when we went into the shared agreement to share the assessor, and we got the grant from the state of New York for
Okay.
doing that shared assessor,
Yep.
we received $59,000, and instead of recognizing the income all in the year that we got it, we amortized it over 10 years.
Oh, okay. So
And
it's
obviously,
done.
2019 was the 10th year.
Okay. And, you know, the appropriated fund balance went way down in highways, and it's projected to go up from 130 to 220 and 25 in general, but I don't know how you guys figure that out, but that's,
Well, let me tell you what we did. Me and Bob sat down, and after we obviously put this together,
all right,
we wanted to present the budget with no increase.
right.
All right? So we did the things that we needed to change, for example, the highway adjustment that we made.
Yep.
All right? So we did that. We brought in the other funds from what was left over from the money that we got from Stacy for,
Pension.
incentive, yeah,
Yep.
incentives or anything. All right, so after we did those things, I said, here's what we need to do with the fund balance to appropriate it to this budget to have a zero tax increase. So that's what we've done here.
And And maybe it's premature to ask this question until all the numbers are sorted out and finalized, but when it's all said and done, the question that I guess we all want to know is then what percentage of the fund balance is left? I mean, you know, that
Yeah.
proverbial 50,
Well,
is it
well,
15%?
we'll have
that, or do you know?
Yeah, we'll have that discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll notice on the, and actually you can look at it yourself right now, as far as, but obviously it's gonna change somewhat. In your front cover is a sheet of what the projected fund balance is going to be in each fund.
Yep.
So if you obviously take the, if you take the estimated fund balance numbers and then subtract what has been appropriated, that'll tell you how much is going to be left.
Because right now you're projecting significantly less than what we budgeted for the last year, right? I mean, last year was $755,000 of fund balance. Am I
You mean appropriated?
appropriated?
Right. And this year it's
It's 475, so that's
475.
yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, it was higher in 2020 because
We had decided to,
if you remember, we made that last minute change in between the public hearing and adoption, where we decided that the winter severity money that we got from the county, $160,000, we were going to use that towards appropriated fund balance because we increased his highway, road maintenance, and improvements budget. So that, and then what was the other piece? I don't know, it slips my mind right now. But anyhow, so that was the reason why it was so much higher.
Gotcha.
Because we were letting them use one-time shots as
Yep.
out of that fund balance to have a higher road improvements and road maintenance budget.
Yep.
Which goes along with why we reduced it $300,000.
Exactly.
Because we don't have all that, we don't have as much money that we got from Stacy, we don't have the $30,000 that we got from the grant for Mott Road. We don't have $160,000 that we got from the county for severity money.
Yep.
So,
I'm just confirming this for my own, the information technology on page 5 of the roll-up is significantly less because we're not having to
We
put a
did
new
computers.
system.
Yeah, we didn't buy all
Last
of
year.
yeah.
Okay, page 8, I don't know how we're doing it with these friends groups and Tony's budget, but band concerts, we used to spend 6. because
That's been
we-
transferred. That, remember, we couldn't,
Yeah, we can't take that.
yeah, so that went to Kiwanis, right? Kiwanis is who put
Kiwanis
it.
or Rotary, I can't remember.
I'd have
Whatever.
Kiwanis.
So they'll
Yeah,
pay.
and which one is Stebbins, Bruce Stebbins?
Bruce, it would be Rotary.
That's
Okay, then
what-
went to
that's where-
Rotary, because I think he's the one who signed off on the check. So that money was transferred because we couldn't legally do that.
Yeah,
But
so that's great. That's
we're
fine.
still doing, with the parks, our portion, like when they had the concerts, we sent people over, and we still budgeted for that, so. We're still involved in it in the same way, other than we got out of the business of taking in the money.
Okay, so, and we already talked about the transfer to other funds, that's that, we're putting $5,000 aside, we may up that number based on our infrastructure question, okay?
Yeah, not this year though. That'll be next year when we can really come up with a comprehensive plan.
Okay. This was just a bookkeeping, you got the planning board members, you're gonna change that
I
title.
changed it. I changed it.
And in the CHIPS program, you know, we're being conservative with that. I guess I understand why, but
I think could be, right now, looking at everything that's out there, a 20% reduction is a very likely scenario for us. I mean, if we get more, great, but that's, they're really cutting back, and I think a lot will have to do with what happens with the with the election. I think if it goes one way, the governor doesn't think we're gonna get any money. If it goes another way, the governor thinks we're gonna get money. So, we'll see.
And then, we answered all the highway questions last night, so I'm just gonna go back to my cover sheet, and now when I'm on the worksheets, Oya, the solar thing, we crossed out 3440, we're not gonna get that money from them. This is.
What page is that?
It's page 1 of the worksheets under.
Yeah, I crossed it out because I was told we're going to get a upfront cash payment.
Yes,
And it
yes.
seemed like it was going to
That's
happen
what it
this
is,
year.
an upfront. Whenever, I'm not sure when it's gonna, whenever that thing gets off the ground, but yeah, we're getting an upfront amount from them.
And will that go somewhere else that hasn't, it's that upfront money, is it gonna be plugged in somewhere else?
It'll go into the general fund
Yeah,
under
yeah.
some revenue account,
Okay,
but
but that'll be it'll make the budget even better because.
it'll make our fund balance better
Right.
if it happens this year.
Yeah, we don't know, it all, that has to do with OSIDA when they go through with their things, but all the stuff that, everything that we have to do, we did, and, there was, we negotiated a better rate, a better deal than was originally proposed.
All right, page 3, charter communications, we budgeted 144 last year, but we're only gonna budget 136 this year.
Yeah, I think it's trending down. I think people are cutting the cord.
I mean,
I saw that TV ad too.
Yeah.
So this is based on how many subscribers there are? Okay.
Yeah.
But do you see a difference between, Charter, Spectrum, and then Fios, right? Because they're two different ones.
Right.
So do you ever see like, hey, people are leaving here and going here, or?
Verizon seems to be staying steady.
Yeah.
I let Verizon went to Spectrum, I'll
Yeah.
tell you that.
Yeah, Verizon
Oh.
seems to be staying steady, and Spectrum the payment has been trending down.
So I helped them out.
And then we're very conservative with mortgage tax, and I get it, maybe that's the right number is 400, but we brought in 448 in 2019, and we budgeted 425 for the current year, and we're dropping it down to 400. And I'm just wondering if if we're in trouble budgetarily here, should we consider making that a little higher?
The only problem with that's so volatile right now. With, like Al said, or wasn't Al, it was Tim, as far as permits and stuff, and Al said, where's the development going in? It doesn't seem like there's really a big push for it right now. And if things happen where, again, if something changes with that presidential race, if we have a change of administrations, and business doesn't like it, and the interest rates goes up, those mortgages will come down.
So,
And
and where I'm coming from is, I do support that, but if we find that the bottom line isn't what we want it to be, and instead of raising taxes, if we're off by $20,000 or $25,000, maybe we ought to consider that. And so I wouldn't change this number. I wouldn't propose changing it right now, but just see how your bottom line numbers come out when you.
Yeah,
You mean consider changing that as a revenue item? But it's an estimate.
Yeah, but it's still plugged into the budget.
Well, I know that it's plugged into the budget, but it could be a false plug into the budget.
True.
I would
It
prefer,
would create a gap, yeah.
I would prefer to stay conservative with that estimate and not falsify the tax rate based on money we don't know is coming in.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
It's not gonna take much to make.
If we
me
knew,
convinced
if
of
we
that.
knew what the second payment was going to be, I'd feel better about increasing it.
Right.
But
But we don't, so. I wanna-
don't forget, the first payment that we got was for the period ending March, which our first payment was higher, but then COVID came.
Right.
Historically speaking, if I remember correctly, isn't the second payment usually
It's
higher?
usually higher, but
we
this
just don't
payment,
know.
this,
Right.
this 6-month period scares me, I don't know. And that's one of these, I think I've told you this before, this is one of those numbers you have no idea. There's nothing I can look at. You can't call down to the county and ask them, well, how are we doing? Because they don't know. They don't, for whatever reason, they can't tell you.
But if it comes in better than this number, then next year's budget is easier.
Yeah.
And we're gonna
I'd
be.
much rather do that than
And next year is
being
when
in a
we,
deficit because we projected all this revenue that didn't show up.
and next year is when we're talking about looking, stabilizing that tax rate by incremental increase. So if that comes in, that'll help us for that year,
Right.
so.
Oh, fine. I think everything else we've discussed. So what's next? You got-
Can we review this sheet again? What things do you want me to include?
Oh, I got it here.
Items.
Which one?
1A,
Yeah,
4, 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
But there was something about 7 that was coming from.
That's
somewhere.
coming this
No,
year,
we're
correct?
not-
He's
we're
doing
doing
Yeah,
seven
so we're
now.
doing-
seven.
Yeah, we're doing
this year.
7
So
now.
it's just
Right,
4,
well, let's
5,
go-
and 6
so
alone.
number
Yeah,
1A,
4, let me see.
and then 4, 5, and 6, right?
Yep, I got it.
And the only addendum to that, Bob, is you said you were gonna go just check out the salt storage.
Yes.
And just,
Yeah.
maybe that's a $12,000 number that.
Yeah.
We'll change it in a few days, but we're not gonna count on it.
Right. I'll definitely take a look at that and see what we have to do with
So what do we do next? Are you gonna just kind of plug all these numbers in, see how it all works out, give us new sheets, and then we gotta regroup?
Yeah, we can do that, and we're meeting tomorrow,
I
right?
mean, tomorrow if we could have new sheets, it'd be awesome.
Say
Yeah.
tomorrow?
I mean,
Yeah.
it's-
We said tomorrow,
Yeah,
do you wanna do it tomorrow, or is there?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, let's do it tomorrow, and then I'll give you new sheets, and
That'd be
see where
great.
we stand
Yeah,
with this.
I'd love to see it.
Because
Yeah,
we
for
went
all
over
these
tomorrow we
changes.
meet.
it. Yeah, we went over the
Yeah.
park today and, after we got through looking at everything, it looked pretty good.
You can
Yeah.
decide about elected officials' salaries, so we can give that information to Dina, because she is going to need that for the publication, obviously.
Well, we don't, for me, we don't have to do anything with mine.
Or mine. I'm
No,
good.
well, you know you have two elected officials who've requested an increase, so you guys. need
Oh, those two, yeah.
You need to decide
Well,
what we're
you know,
doing.
while we're here, let's talk.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's, I'm glad you brought,
Is that executive session?
Your public
discussion or no?
officials though.
yeah, public officials, so I think that's.
It's open.
It's open. Sure it is,
Okay.
yeah.
I just didn't wanna jump in.
Yeah, the employee, yeah,
No,
the
I get it,
employees.
totally.
Yeah, the employees, everybody but elected officials, so you gotta keep it, so Dina's, to me, that one is a no-brainer. I mean, she did a great job this year, not just her, but I think Teresa, I think they all did a great job. Al, everybody, Dave, everybody did a great job. When I went in and, when we were discussing it in March, I asked them, hey, this is gonna be tough. And it is, look out, we're working on this. And they all did a great job, but I think her reorganization of her office, 21,766, and she's asking for a nominal 2% just to keep, to try and have incremental increases. We should be getting all of our employees, and even though she's not an employee, but everybody here, all of our employees, we should be looking to get them at least in the middle. And with some we are, some we are. And with hers, she's on the low end. So personally, with hers, I don't have a problem with a less than $1,000 raise that she asked for.
I don't either, and maybe can we go into executive session and just talk about the other employees?
Well, we can't. The other employees, they're in
Well, I just want to, I'll ask it then publicly. Right now, we're leaving it as status quo.
we have to because of the union, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
happy with
Yeah.
that, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, we don't have any choice with that.
Okay.
What they do with because they don't have a contract, it's called a tri-borough, which says that when a contract expires, with the Taylor Law, when a contract expires, you have to continue on with the benefits that you had. So essentially, if they had built-in increases, longevity and things like that, you have to continue on with that. Now, they don't have a contract per se, but they have a contract with us. So I think the right thing to do, and I think the spirit of the law, is to continue on with what you had. So salaries, obviously, we build in salaries per year up until we get into this contract, but there are a couple of things. The only thing that we would continue on as their current salary, but they do have longevity stipends built in. So I think those are things that we should continue to pay because, like I said, that's technically a contract that we have.
And then the other one that we have no, it's a contract, is the highway employees.
Right, they automatically.
Yeah, theirs is automatic.
That's what it's.
So the other one is Jerry's, the highway superintendent's. He asked for a
$20,000.
$20,000 raise.
Did you have anything on Dino's that you want to mention, or?
So, Dina did a great job putting her budget together. I think the town clerks historically, as long as I've been on the board, Lisa's budget, Elaine's budget, Dina, they do a great job. Dina did a great job showing what the other towns are paying. The difference is less than $1,000 a year. I'm not gonna fight about less than $1,000 a year. But I think that it's commendable that this board and this administration is looking at a budget with a zero tax increase for the residents. That's our mission, that's our goal. And these are two elected positions. People ran for these offices. They knew what the salary was when they ran for that office. They weren't blindsided. They chose. This is public service. You know, this board, we're elected positions. We haven't asked for a raise, and we're not going to. I'm speaking for myself here. If the position is underfunded, then that's something that we should look at. But I don't think this is the year to do it. I don't think the year of COVID is the year that we need to change elected salaries. I think that maybe next year this is something we start in January or February and we put game plan in place to get these positions to where they need to be or we feel that they should be. I'm just one board member. Again, it's less than $1,000 for the clerk position. This just doesn't feel right. And these are elected positions. They chose these positions and they knew what the salary was. I don't know if anyone else here shares that opinion. I've been pretty consistent with this opinion for several years, so this isn't the first time I've
Well,
shared
I'll
it.
take a different route, regardless of elected position or not. And in my own private sector life, if anyone wants to raise, you have to justify it, right? What's the business justification for that raise, regardless if it's $500 or $5,000 or whatever it may be? So how does one justify it? Does one take on more duties for that job? What additional things have they done besides saving money or moving people around? So that's the way how I personally look at things, you know, so I'm undecided right now, you know, to be honest with you.
When you look at it, again, I think, yeah, they come in and they're in a position for, you know, they know what it is going in, but that doesn't mean that, you know, when they took that job on, nothing said that that salary had to stay status quo forever. When you're looking at the salaries here of the other town clerks around, she is, take out Fabius is part-time. Other than that, you have Marcellus. Marcellus has 6,000 people, so this is almost 4 times as much. Everybody else she's at the very bottom of the second lowest out of all the other towns.
I don't disagree.
And I think that you should, you know, she's not going to be there forever. She might be there forever,
Sure.
but I think that you should compensate people for what they're doing. And if you look at, and how do you know what fair compensation is? Well, you go out into the market. And if you look at the market here, she's way underpaid. Now, she's only asking for $1,000. In my opinion,
Right.
I think she saved this year going in, not only did she lower the budget, she's saving $21,766.
And as I said, I think Dina's, you know, I'm not arguing with any of that. If that's something we could do, we're planning on different things in the future. I think that this is a conversation we could have next year. I don't have a problem with doing that. We've talked about in the future incremental increases in taxes in order to bring certain departments up to speed. Let's have.
Well, they're incremental, well, no, it was incremental increases
Yep.
to cover static costs that we have. You know, ongoing static costs, like the building and,
Right.
you know, parking, and we've never done that. this is a different deal. I think that we should be looking at incrementally increasing these salaries so we don't do it all in one year. I don't agree that we should just, if somebody's $10,000 less, wait until they're $10,000 lower to be at the middle, wait till they're at 10,000 and increase it 10,000. I don't personally think that that's the way we should go. And that's not the way that we should go when we're negotiating contracts with our employees. If we're in contract negotiations now, and what we had asked them is to show us, they asked for certain things, and you have to justify. Okay, let's see where you're at. And say they're 20% low. Well, there's no way they're going to get a 20% raise, but if we do it incrementally to get them where we need to get them, because you have to retain good quality people. Otherwise, they'll move. They'll go somewhere else. And we want to do that. That's my feeling. So I think that what she's asking for is reasonable. I think that we should do it incrementally, and I think she should get it.
So I'll chime in. I agree with Bob 100%. And I would also add that at 2%, that's a number that makes me feel good because it seems like a reasonable number in terms of what you would expect, regardless of whether it's COVID or in a recession. Folks have to be taken care of to some degree. She didn't ask for 5%, she didn't ask for 6%, she asked for 2%. It's not an unreasonable number, and quite honestly, not that I don't look at Dina's accomplishments, because I do, but I kind of look at all the employees, and if they were all asking for 2%, I'd say, you're really decent folks. And and I would give them all 2% in that sense. And I don't hate to play my hand in that regard, but there is a certain level of reasonableness in terms of job expectations with pay raises. So I support this.
Yep, and that was my point with business justification, so, yeah.
I just want to point something out as you're talking about the town clerk. 2 budgets ago, it was proposed at budget time a $10,000 raise. 3 of you are still here, and it went in $5,000 one year, and then last year's budget, it got lost for the town clerk position. There was a heated discussion about it for the 19 budget. Health insurance has gone up every year. She's probably one of the people that are elected that actually use the health insurance. So I hope everybody at this table remembers what they said 2 years ago, playing into now, that she's reduced it past what it was asked 2 years ago and what was discussed at this table.
Well,
I wasn't here 2 years ago.
we weren't part of that.
But no, I
discussion.
think-
but it,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean
Yeah.
you shouldn't know.
No, right, yeah,
Oh,
no,
no, I-
Because
exactly.
you came into
Yeah.
the job doesn't mean you shouldn't
Well,
know.
we
what
have it
happened.
right here.
Yeah, I
We have
think,
the information right
yeah, no, I
And
think.
what was said? You lost me a little bit with that.
The $5,000 raise went in, and then
Yeah.
last year it was gonna be reviewed, and she didn't ask for it at all. It was supposed to be stepped in.
Yeah,
And-
okay. So what you're saying is,
They got skipped last year.
what you're saying is it was supposed to be a step increase like I'm suggesting we should be
Right,
doing.
and that's up
what
to
you're-
the board
okay.
every year for their
All right.
budget,
Yeah.
but
No, I get it.
half the room sits
Yeah,
here
and then-
and forgot what was said 2 years ago. And
Yeah.
that, it seems like everything gets forgotten. Buildings, maintenance, this stuff, a 30-year-old tractor, this has been up for 5 years. I've been attending these meetings since 2014.
And we're addressing them this year.
Right.
I mean, those things are all being addressed, I mean, the tractor and a lot of the things. Obviously, we can't, again, if with anything, we can't make it all up in 1 year. But we do have a 5-year plan for the highway that we're addressing equipment. And after 5 years, we're going to be in pretty good shape. Same thing with the town parks. We're trying to address their needs. We can't do it all in 1 year, especially this year, but we're trying to meet those things. So I think Mr. Road is in favor of Dina's.
Oh, no, I'm just.
Thank you for your service,
I
Mr.
just-
Rowland.
I just wish that every year people remember what they've sat at this table and done for 2 weeks, the end of October. It seems like every year it's a clean slate. Nobody, remembers what they kicked down the road, and this is what has put our town in this predicament.
Well, hopefully we'll remember next year.
All right, so a couple of things. First, for starters, I wouldn't make the assumption that anybody's forgetting anything. As a matter of fact,
Well, nobody brought it up.
we brought an awful lot up, and we're just holding the discussion now, and I haven't had the opportunity to speak yet, because you jumped in. But that's all right. What I would say is, we do an awful lot here, and I have last year's, and so does Bob. So, to jump to the conclusion and make the general statement that things get forgotten year after year, they don't. And year after year, you're gonna find out that we're gonna continue to, we're gonna get lists from Al. We're gonna get all this stuff. Dina brought in her budget the last time low, which was the $5,000, which I did remember. Roman, I understand completely what you're saying, but here she is, she comes in 2 years in a row, reducing her budget and saving the town money, substantial amounts of money for the amount within her budget. So I've got to go, I agree.
Yep, I got it.
I know you do, but I mean legitimizing your
Yeah.
view as well. But I really do, and as far as she goes, she's done a great job by this town. And when we ask her to bring her budget in low, she brings her budget in low. And she finds a way, whether it's reducing $5,000 on her own salary or finding a way to restructure her office. So she's a good.
Yeah, we're talking about $1,000.
It's less than $1,000.
Right.
I'm good.
Right.
I'm
good with it.
good. I think she justified it. I just wanted to say.
I feel it's the
how
principle of the matter. It's not less than
Right.
$1,000 because I'm gonna have the exact same argument, and I don't wanna repeat myself for the highway superintendent, because, we're gonna,
Well, let's,
yeah.
So we go with all
Are
Dina?
we good with Dina?
I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Okay. And now, because I want to stick on Dina for a second, and I'm asking them to cut things. Now, they're cutting. There's going to be a point, and I think we're almost there. And Dave, you can chime in if you think I'm off base with this, but I think that people are running pretty lean right now. I mean, you look at her, she cut it down $21,000. That's a lot of money. I mean, I think everybody here is running pretty lean. Wouldn't you agree with that statement? I mean, so I asked her, and they started cutting this year. So I think that when it comes to personnel, I think some of the things we did this year, with the parks and things, I think that was an appropriate thing to do at this time. I think that they're all running pretty well. So next year, to expect her to come in low again, she might not be able to do it. She might have to have an increase, because it's once you run lean, the only way you can go is up. So, but reasonable increases, cost of living increases, that's what we should expect with them, short of any other catastrophe. So I just want you to don't think that she's going to be able to do 21,000 next year too. And just because she does, it doesn't mean that she shouldn't get incremental increases, because she's very, very low now. Not only, and we're looking at all the employees here. I think we should look at all the employees.
We got to take care of our own.
Yeah, they
someone
shouldn't
else
be at
will.
the top of the food chain, but they shouldn't be at the bottom either, because I think that if you do that, that's when you start losing good personnel. And we have some people here that have it. Mr. Rowley's leaving this year. He's got a lot of institutional knowledge. I was gonna cut his brain out, put it in a jar.
He told me he was staying for
wasn't
another
gonna work.
3 years.
Yeah. So, but, okay,
Even if that
good.
one's gonna be tough.
That's what I got to say about that. So we'll move on to the highway superintendent. You want to start?
I've already spoken, so
Already
as board
spoken.
member.
So what you're saying is you don't believe, yeah, so you don't believe you should get it right?
I believe that we should have the conversation again next year, not the year
Okay.
of COVID. I think that he gave us the same thing that Dina did. He did a great job of comparing it.
Mhm.
He's on the lower end in Onondaga County, all right? I think we do need to raise the position. I'm not arguing that with you, and I think that probably there's consensus on the board for that. Just don't think it needs to be this year. And I think that's a conversation the board we can have together next year, and maybe we should start that conversation sooner than the budget.
Next year is an election year for him,
Mhm.
for that position.
For that position,
For that
and I
position.
think that
Clerk also.
Go ahead.
And
I would feel more comfortable budgeting next year for that position.
If you look at the sheet that he gave me, and if this is accurate, I have no reason to believe that it's not. He's the lowest paid in on the account. The highest paid is, again, and should be at the highest paid, 95,000. Lowest paid is 55,000. He's the lowest. He had, not he, because I don't think that we should look at elected positions as individuals. I think we should look at them as positions. You know, just like Dina's position or my position or anybody's position that's elected. Because we don't own, you know, the citizens will tell us if we can have them or not. Unlike our employees, they actually own their position unless they do something criminal to get them booted out. That position, and he only went back to 2013, hasn't had a raise since before 2013, and at that point he had said it was 55,677, and then in 2014 it went to 55,000, and it stayed there since 2013. Every other town superintendent has received a raise, an incremental increase over the years since then. If you look at within our town, most of the positions here have had incremental increases. And I think that for the most part, you know, we're not too far off, with the exception of his position. I think his position, that position is sorely underfunded.
I agree.
And to look at it next year, you have to start somewhere. And I don't think that, now, I don't agree $20,000 is not the way you start. You don't throw in $20,000 the first year and jump up where you need to be. They have to be incremental increases. And I think this year, what I would suggest is a $5,000 raise. It still puts that position at the bottom. He's still at the bottom with the $5,000 raise.
How did?
Well, hold on, let me finish.
Sure.
He's still at the bottom with the $5,000 raise, but we have to start increasing that position, because that position deals with a lot of money.
It's a 24/7 job.
It's a 24/7 job. That deals with a lot of money. So you have to, if whoever is in that position has to be competent enough to handle that position. If it's so low that we can't get people that are competent enough to handle that position, then you're putting somebody, and we don't have any control over that, as everybody knows. Once we give that person the money, whether it's a he or she, they're on their own. We have no control over that. You're talking a small corporation. There's hundreds of something, over $1 million. I forget what his budget is, but it's a lot of money. And in the future, we need to move that up, because Jerry's not going to be there forever. So whoever is in that position, we want to be able to attract qualified candidates to that position. So what I would suggest is an incremental increase this year, and then we'll look at just like we do with the building and things, to build these things in, to have incremental increases moving forward. Now, I hope that, I try to say to people with the president, the president, everything, when people talk about the president, they don't talk about what he's doing, it's all about his personality. So I hope we can take personalities out of this and just look at the position. And I think this year, from my perspective, what I saw the highway superintendent do, I thought he did a good job this year with his budget. I really did. I asked him to do certain things, and he ended up doing them. Like some of the things that we discussed. He actually ended up doing them when he did his budget presentation. And I think that I think we need to do something with that.
I don't disagree with you about the position being underfunded. I'm just one board member, I talk a lot.
Yeah.
This one's tougher on me, I'll be honest with you. Taking personality out of it. I agree 100% that we need to have a salary that we need to attract talent. I agree with that. And I agree that this is very underfunded. So, that being said, your number is not, in my mind, a bad number, what you have mentioned, Todd. You know, maybe I could just stop there.
So here's my issue. These are elected positions, right? The people that are in the positions, that are going for these positions, should let the public know what they want, right? As far as, hey, I'm gonna run for this position, and this is what I want from you, the taxpayers. If right now it's at 55, maybe I want 65. So when I'm elected, this is what I want from you, taxpayer, right? And that's how I'm looking at it. I don't think that we should be given an elected position, you know, a cost of living adjustment every year, because that's not right. They're elected position. They know what the salary is. They're doing it for their community, like us here. I think we all.
Town board has not had a raise since 2012, and we haven't. Nobody on the board or previous board since 2012 has asked for a raise.
Well, here's my thing too, is I think we all work more than what we're worth, right? You know, from the town perspective. My other thing too is, I don't think as elected position, we can just say, you, we'll give you 2% here, and you, we're not gonna give you anything. I think what we do for one, we have to do for both, right?
Or do for every single elected position in
Right.
town, and I
Right.
just don't think that that's fair. Or necessary.
Yeah, right.
Well, I don't agree that every elected position, I think the town board positions are over here. And
Well, I'm sorry,
No,
yeah,
not
no,
you.
yeah, you're right,
I'm
yeah.
responding to Ronan. I mean, I think town clerks and highway superintendents are sort of on the same,
And supervisors, yeah,
and town supervisors, well, maybe town. They're on the same plane.
yeah.
And
Where would you
maybe
put the
more so
judges?
the superintendent of highways and the town clerk, because they're not supposed to be political positions. These 5 positions are, on top of everything else, political positions. And I know you can argue with them, well, they're elected, they are political. I have a hard, we went on saying one of the reasons why the 2% was justified for the town clerk was the incredible work that the town clerk did. So it was hard to take personality out of that equation. And I guess we're trying to do the right thing, would 2% for both of them make any sense?
Well, where I come up with that number is where they fit in the scale.
Yeah.
You know, and Dina is, she's not bad. I mean, she should go up, but she's not bad. But Jerry is so way low. I mean, it's not even close. He's out of the ballpark. Not that position is. I mean, when you look at it, it's really low.
Oh, yeah, I get it. yeah,
You
but-
go, if you look at town of Marcellus, and they're much smaller than us, they're at 60,508. The next closest one is, 65. So I don't think that, so he's way out of whack. Where hers is, I mean, it's more in the ballpark than his. And if she wasn't, I would suggest the same thing with hers. Now, if you feel that hers should go up, I mean, certainly she justified it. I don't have a problem with, just because she asked for 2%, I don't have a problem with giving her more, if that's what we feel that we should do. I don't have a problem with that, but I think that this position here, moving forward, it's going to get so far behind. I don't think that we should do that all in one year. Jack it up to 75,000 or 80,000. I mean,
Well,
if you.
That's,
No.
I think.
No,
it's-
not for that. I mean, if down the road something happens, we got to attract somebody else, because we want to attract. We want to have somebody that's competent to do the job.
I think it's irresponsible to ask the board to do that. I mean, he asked us for a $20,000 raise. I think that's irresponsible. In any year, COVID year or no,
Yeah.
I think that is an irresponsible ask.
Okay.
Which is part of my issue, I suppose.
And I think
the
you-
responsibility of, and to Jeff's point, he knew what he was getting into. I mean, he knew I can only assume when he ran for the office, he knew what the salary was. So this is a great conversation because it is a catch-22. What do you do? He knew what the salary was. I believe in my heart that it's irresponsible to ask for a $20,000 raise. That's what, 36%, David? Right? I mean, if my math is close. That's steep.
Well,
And I
his
don't
I'll say his negotiation skills,
well, I don't think
need
that,
some fine tuning.
I don't believe that is the sole irresponsible fiscal ask that he's had in his tenure. So that's what makes it so tough for me to try to decide what we do with that position. Although I agree, if we're gonna, you know.
I don't think we have to make it tonight, do we? I mean, we can
Soon.
give time.
We got
So-
Right, but I mean, we don't have to make it tonight.
We're meeting tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
I think we're meeting Thursday.
We are meeting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Not
Not Thursday.
Okay.
Dave, when does it have to be published for people to see? It's within the next 2 weeks.
When we
Yeah.
present on the
No, it
third.
has to be before that, because it has to be in the
They have to
notice.
be in the paper.
The notice has to be
Well, how many days
by
So
before?
that they have time to review
Yeah, I
it
have to
before
look at the time.
before the public hearing.
Public hearing.
So I think we got until,
Probably got to the end of this week, what's today?
you know what, the
We're meeting
19th,
tomorrow.
you know what, the 19th sticks in my head, October 19th, so that could be.
Yeah, we're already past that.
That was yesterday.
Oh, was it? I hope it wasn't that.
You need to think about it and decide.
What do you
We
think?
do need to think about it. But this is a good discussion we're having. I mean, it's a difficult one, but it's a good one.
Let's revisit it tomorrow, you know, we don't have to make that today.
I believe it was asked the same amount last year.
No, it was asked $10,000 last year.
Oh, was it?
5,000 year before that. He doubled it every year.
Okay.
For those of us who remember.
Pay attention.
Yeah.